Are the rest of you developing your screenwriting chops, or are you trying to sell them, or are you trying to direct them yourselves?
I have a screenplay, and I want to attach myself as director. But what I was going to say, the most difficult thing for me about writing a screenplay is that anybody can be creative and anybody can formulate ideas. But I think that learning how to write a screenplay and actually writing it, the actual physical, typing and writing of it, is the most tedious and most difficult part of the screenplay, because you constantly revisit it and you just keep going back to it. You're like, well, maybe I want to change this. Well, no, I like that. I don't want to take that. Maybe I want to change that. And it's like one of the things that I really agree with is that Picasso said that art isn't really completed or concluded. It's just abandoned. And that's how I feel with the screenplay. It's like you just write it until you can't write it anymore, and then it's abandoned. And then you're ready to make the movie.
That sounded good. Well, yeah, at this point I'm writing another project, and I think what's happening here on my end is, at this point, I'm kind of going from that Robert Rodriguez kind of idea that, I understand what we've talked about here so far, but at the same time, as I'm more focused on, I really want to direct, and that's my passion. And so to me, I don't feel like I can go out there in the big wide world yet and just tackle something. I'm at this point, I'm continuing to write a project and shoot it, and then take all of my mistakes that I learned, not only writing it, developing it, shooting it, editing it, dealing with actors, all of those things, they can't teach you in film school, you just so at this point, I'm writing a project, and I'm pumping out a project about every 5 to 6 months. So I'm learning constantly, and that's what's working for me right now. And in the next, I plan on shooting something else here coming in October. So
I don't think I could direct a film I didn't write or wasn't involved in writing. And I think there are a lot of tedious things in the writing process which I wouldn't mind having a collaborator on, and there are certain things that I see as weaknesses in my scripts that I wouldn't mind having someone throughout to work with me on. Now I write them and then I give them to a few selected readers who find my weaknesses and then help me. I wouldn't mind doing it throughout the process. And I don't think I could have anyone direct something I wrote. I don't think it's possible.
No, I agree.
There are maybe 3 directors in the world that I would even talk to. I don't think I could do it. A script is nothing to me. It's a blueprint for a film that I have in my mind.
I think having a co-writer can be really beneficial to your script too. My script that I just completed, I wrote it with another person, and basically what we did was I told him stories, and he mapped out the stories and outlined the story. And then once we had the outline of the story, from there we had all our list of scenes. And I already knew the characters, and I already knew the dialogue, and all I had to do was write scene by scene, and then it was finished.
Yeah, the interesting approach that I'm going with on this next one is that I'm thinking of it in acts and somewhat episodic, and writing an act or writing it as an episode, a chunk of scenes, and then posting it up on the internet for my friends, which is a pretty large group of filmmakers and writers and, artists, so I get, and it's been wonderful because networking has changed with MySpace and blah, 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 as much as we want to make fun of it, but it is an amazing tool, and I can post a script up, and I have 25 responses of I didn't like this, it would be really cool if this guy did this, so I could never take credit in the final product, other than just piecing all the ideas together, but it's been amazing to do that, and also in the final product, when we finished Aperture, you screen it, and then everybody tells you what they like and what they didn't like, and you don't get upset. You just learn your lessons, and then you shoot something else, and you make sure you don't break all those rules again.
It's almost in a way like having your own, or creating your own film school. and a slightly, or it's cheaper than that. And that's, you touched on the word that I was going to mention before. I'm curious, between the four of you, did you go to film school? If so, where? And what do you think the value of that is? Is it essential?
Oh.
We'll start then.
I went to Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond, and I started a film society on campus, and we started watching films all the time. And then I started working at the Southeastern channel, because Southeastern has its own television channel. And so I used the experience that I got from, working at the television channel to transfer it over. And that's what, made me want to be a filmmaker.
I didn't go to film school. Luckily, my high school, even though it was in a small town, got a grant to buy a video editing system my senior year, and the teacher was pretty much so out of touch, and, glad he's not here, that he had no clue how to even approach the thing. So, and I was just excited as hell to touch the thing. So literally, I had no PE, I had no study hall, nothing. My senior year, I just learned how to use this video editing system, and then eventually taught him. I worked in radio. I worked in radio all through high school, and afterwards it was just natural to. I went to a small town community college and just got an associate's degree in radio, TV, broadcasting, which is absolutely useless because everything has changed since then. It's a no formal film degree.
I mean, a degree in our industry is absolutely worthless. It is. I've never once had anyone ask me about it. I studied philosophy at the University of Pittsburgh, and I minored in filmmaking, which they don't have a technical department, so it's strictly film theory and film criticism. And I then went to school at Pittsburgh Filmmakers, which is strictly a technical school, and I studied film there. And fortunately, I didn't pay for school, so a lot of people make the mistake. I think it's a mistake of spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on school and then getting out, and I'd rather take that money and make a movie. I think about it much more. But I don't like school in general. I'd much rather learn things on my own. It's the translation for education in French is formation, which means formation. It sort of forms you, molds you, and I think it's not necessary. I think you can do these things on your own and have a more liberal education. Unless you can go to school for cheap and get a lot of free equipment to make your own movies and not pay attention to what they're teaching you.
Let me just ask one more question, then I'm going to shoot it all out to the audience. Of course, filmmaking, it's very difficult to make films, very difficult to work in production. I'm just curious, for each of you, again, assuming or if what it is that you're working on is not paying your rent, how are you paying your rent?
I work a day job 4 days a week. I'm a salesperson. In Metairie, in SPW. But I use the internet at work, and I use the internet to be my tool of film resource. Yes.
Outside of doing my own things, I actually do work in the industry on features and blah, 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 which that's a whole different thing to talk about. I work as a production assistant, which is no money. You get stuck locking up a scene, making sure no one walks through it. It's, for the most part, it's a terrible, boring job.
Yes.
But I've gotten to work and speak with some of the greatest directors and actors. I've got to watch them work and see how they've done things, and I've stole a few of them. So essentially, it's like getting paid to watch the big dogs play. So I do that when it's available. I also work as a cameraman, videographer on reality TV and blah, blah, blah. I just did the Learning Channel yesterday, Fat Kids Confidential. So work as a segment director and cameraman on the History Channel and some different things like that. So local documentary and reality TV.
I make all my money director of photography and spend all my money doing my own movies. I've never made anything for my own movies, but I work in the industry as, similar to what Jason was saying, but as a director of photography and camera departments, for films and commercials and things like that.